It's an unavoidable fact that the planet and mankind face certain disasters and catastrophes in the future. Many of you are already aware of things like climate change, volcanoes, earthquakes, and other possible natural disasters. While those things will inevitably cause disasters in the future, there are even bigger threats that humanity currently faces. It is very possible that a global catastrophic event could damage human well-being on a global scale and even cripple or destroy modern civilization. These are the kinds of events that could permanently and drastically damage humanity's potential. Let's face it, no matter what happens, the planet Earth is going to be around for a long time. But that doesn't mean that life will continue to exist on the planet as we know it. Humanity faces something called existential risks. And those risks are not just big disasters. We're talking about ones that could end civilization. Over the past few centuries, we have either discovered or created new existential threats. And with this in mind, we should expect others to appear. The Doomsday Clock is a symbolic clock that represents the likelihood of a man-made global catastrophe. And as you probably guessed by now, midnight on the clock equals total global catastrophe. In 1947, the clock's original setting was 7 minutes to midnight. It's since then been set backwards and forwards 23 times, and in 1991 the clock had 17 minutes. The smallest ever number of minutes, 2 minutes to midnight, was set first in 1953 when the United States and the Soviet Union began testing hydrogen bombs, and more recently in 2018, following the failure of world's leaders to address tensions that related to nuclear weapons and climate change. But this isn't about climate change. The threat of a nuclear war has become greater now than ever. Only 2 nuclear weapons have been used in war so far: the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombs used in World War II. And nuclear stockpiles are down since the Cold War. But despite this, it would be a mistake to think that nuclear war isn't possible. In fact, it might not be improbable. The Cuban Missile Crisis was the closest we've ever come to an all-out nuclear war. If we were to assume that one such event occurs every 69 years, and that there's a 1 in 3 chance that it might go all the way to a full-scale nuclear war, the chance of such a catastrophe increases about 1 in 200 per year. The other thing about nuclear war that is often exaggerated is fallout from the weapons. Locally, they are potentially deadly, but globally it would be a relatively limited problem. In fact, cobalt bombs were proposed as a doomsday weapon that would wipe out everyone with radioactive fallout. However, these weapons are hard and very expensive to build and just barely physically possible. That means if another country had a chance to land a nuclear strike on another country before they could launch a counterattack, they might do this. The biggest threat is smaller and isolated countries, such as North Korea, with Pyongyang already building a nuclear weapons stockpile. If things became desperate enough, with 41% of the population starving, and considering that North Korea understands mutual destruction and has nothing further to lose, they could use a nuclear weapon to attack a United States territory, and the chances of a counterattack with a nuclear weapon would be high, putting the entire world on alert and standby. If such a nuclear war scenario were to play out and everyone decided to launch nukes, soot lofted into the atmosphere would cause a multi-year nuclear winter in which billions of people would starve to death, leaving only scattered survivors to be picked off by other threats. But it's not only nuclear weapons that we need to worry about. It's an almost well-known fact that natural pandemics have wiped out more people than wars. However, natural pandemics are unlikely to be an existential threat because there are usually some people who are resistant to the pathogen. What we're talking about is the deliberate manufacture and spread of disease that could wipe out humanity as we know it. A deliberately bioengineered pandemic could be made almost by any country with the technology that exists today. Technological advances in biotechnology has made the manipulation of genetic makeup of organisms, from bacteria to humans, faster, cheaper, and easier. There have been big advances in 3 specific emerging technologies: additive manufacturing, or 3D printing, artificial intelligence, and robotics. This could be used to develop or produce biological weapons and their delivery systems. These advances could also produce new possibilities for biological weapon use. and increase the exposure of digitized biological data and operating parameters to cyber attacks. The big problem is that all three technologies are difficult to control, not least due to their dual-use nature, their digitization, and the fact that they are mainly developed by civilian and private sectors. Luckily, for now, the expertise required to exploit these technologies for the purpose of developing and producing biological weapons remains significant and continues to pose a barrier to most actors. The number of fatalities from bioweapon attacks and epidemic outbreaks has what is called a power law distribution. Most attacks have few victims, but a few of those attacks have wiped out many. And while we're on the subject of artificial intelligence, it should be known that one of the existential threats that face humanity is superintelligence. Intelligence is a powerful thing, but the problem is, intelligent entities are good at achieving their goals. But if the goals are badly set, they can use their power to cleverly achieve disastrous ends. There is no reason to think that intelligence itself will make something behave nicely and morally. In fact, it is possible to prove that certain types of superintelligent systems would not obey moral rules, even if they were true. But there is another problem that could be worse. Trying to explain things to an artificially intelligent being or system could find us running into profound practical and philosophical problems. It is possible that software-based intelligence could very quickly go from below human intelligence to frighteningly powerful overnight. The reason for this is that AI may scale in different ways from biological intelligence. It can run faster on faster computer systems. Parts can be distributed on more computers. Different versions of software can be tested and updated on the fly. And new algorithms incorporated can give a jump to performance. It is proposed that an intelligence explosion could occur when software becomes good enough to make better software on its own. Should such a jump ever occur, there would be a large difference in potential power between the smart system and the rest of the world. This, of course, has a clear potential for disaster if the goals are badly set. The interesting and unusual thing about superintelligence is that we do not know if rapid and powerful intelligence explosions are possible. It could be that our current civilization as a whole is improving itself at the fastest possible rate. However, there are good reasons to think that some technologies may speed things up faster than current societies can handle. At the same time, we do not have a good grip on just how dangerous different forms of superintelligence could be, or what mitigation strategies would actually work if that superintelligence turned against us. The bottom line is that we could actually create a superintelligent system that would see humans as obsolete. One of the other incredible technologies that is making leaps and bounds is nanotechnology. If you're not up to date with the term nanotechnology, it is the control over matter with atomic or molecular precision. This, of course, in itself is not dangerous. But just like biotechnology, increasing power also increases the potential for abuses that are hard to defend against. No, we're not talking about the gray goo, self-replicating nanomachines that eat everything in their path. That kind of technology would require a clever design because it is very difficult to make a machine replicate. Biology is much better at this, but that doesn't mean that some maniac out there wouldn't eventually succeed. The biggest risk is that atomically precise manufacturing is ideal for rapid, cheap manufacturing of things like weapons, where anyone could print large amounts of autonomous or semi-autonomous weapons that could include weapons facilities that build themselves. Nanoweapons, of course, would be small, precision things. Miniature weapons like flying smart poison darts that acts like a nerve gas agent but instead seeks out its victims. Imagine tiny flying nanorobots which could be used as surveillance systems for keeping populations obedient. There could even be ways of getting nuclear proliferation and climate engineering into the hands of anyone that wants it. The future of nanotechnology looks like it could be incredibly disruptive because it can give us whatever we wish for. But there is something else that many other people have failed to realize, and that is the unsettling possibility that there is something out there waiting for us that is very deadly, and yet we haven't a clue about it. Something completely unknown. It could be a deadly ancient virus trapped beneath millions of years of melting ice, or some other catastrophic event could happen, such as a massive solar storm or a supervolcano eruption. The silence in the universe could be evidence for many things. The absence of aliens could be due to life or intelligence being extremely rare. Or it's possible that intelligent life always ends up wiping itself out, as it looks like we're about to do. That said, the decline in global biomass of wild mammals is currently a staggering 82%. Everyone is aware of climate change and asteroid impacts, and you may be wondering why they aren't mentioned in this video. Even though climate change seems like a really scary thing, it's unlikely to make the entire planet uninhabitable. Asteroids could certainly wipe us out, as it did most of the dinosaurs 65 million years ago, but we would have to be very unlucky. The average mammalian species survives for about 1 million years. That said, the background natural extinction rate is roughly 1 in a million per year. That is much lower than the nuclear war risk, which after 70 years is still arguably the biggest threat to our continued existence. If humanity does become extinct, it will be either because of something of our own creation that wipes us out, or that great unknown threat we don't know about yet. But the loss of all human life is more than just that. Human extinction means the loss of meaning generated by past generations, the lives of all future generations, and all the value they might have been able to create. If consciousness or intelligence are lost, it might mean that value itself becomes absent from the universe. And it could be the reason why it looks like we're the last ones left in the universe. We hope you enjoyed the video, and if you liked it, please give us a like and share with a friend. Be sure to click on the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you'll be the first to know when a new video arrives. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.